And the key challenges of public debt management in the region has to do with debt sustainability, which the earlier speaker elaborated on the debt sustainability. And the rising debt burden threatens debt sustainability and the overall macroeconomic stability of the region. And also, the debt service cost, which I mentioned earlier, as a result of the global interest rate hike, because the tightening of the monetary policy has led to increase in the cost of borrowing, especially from the domestic sources. Also, there's weak domestic capacity, and there's data gaps in terms of reliability of data. Or you see agencies have conflicting data on the same issue. Then there's the spillover effects, because due to the interconnectivities of the economies of the region, public debt remains a crisis as public debt in one country can transmit to shocks in other countries due to the interconnectivity between the countries. And also there's the global uncertainties, which I mentioned earlier, the high interest rate, the global economic prospect, the commodity price shocks also affects our public debt management. And to address these challenges, we need a sound and robust public debt management, in which can lead to information-based decision, can help policymakers in making information-based decisions.
As at 31st December 2024, not audited yet, the public debts of the Federation stood at 143.5 trillion. And out of it, external component of the public debt 68.8 trillion, and domestic debt component amounted to 74.6 trillion. Then, my role as the head of the Supreme Audit Institution of Nigeria, 1, providing evidence-based reports on public debts by conducting audits that supply the Public Accounts Committee with factual and reliable data. Serve as the primary source of professional, independent financial analysis, guaranteeing objective and credibility in reporting on public debts. On debt sustainability, I examine compliance with Borrowing Laws, Fiscal Responsibility Act, assess the sustainability of debt level and repayment capacity through performance audit. Situation whereby borrowed money value is not derived from the borrowed money.
Today, you do debt servicing by 70% of your revenue, so how much is left to do infrastructures? Sometimes there was a time in this country we're borrowing to pay recurrent expenditure. That's not supposed to be. Borrow to pay recurrent expenditure. At that time, our revenues, 98% was used in servicing debt. How much was left? Then you should borrow to pay both recurrent and capital expenditure. So you continue to borrow. At the end of the day, it has no limit. So those are the issues that the Parliament must take into cognizance when you are doing that.
Facilitating access to data and report is necessary. Let's have SAIs and parliamentary committees can improve transparency by making audit report and debt information publicly accessible. Whenever we knock at your door, we want that information readily accessible and something that we can actually get, when we knock at your door. There's need for monitoring and investigative collaboration. We all know investigative journalism is not an easy thing. There's money, funds needs to go in. So we need to also devote time and another platform where we have journalists that will be trained when it comes to undercover journalism, reporting of that management and public account. Let's have them. And by the end of the PAC conference, we know we have 5, 6, 7 journalists we can actually make bold to say they can do undercover journalism. They can actually cover report and give accurate information, not misinformation, because we know what we have currently is fake news most times, hovering all over social media. So we need undercover reporting, journalism for journalists, and we can achieve this if we have a lot more to do with capacity building and workshop. Aside that, advocacy for legislative and policy reforms, there's need for CSOs and media. We can partner together to lobby for stronger legal framework that can enhance the role of parliamentary committees in structuring public debt. So,
their sustainability is central to economic stability and development and intergenerational equality. For lawmakers, the ability to understand DSS, interpret debt metrics, and enforce meaningful debt ceiling is vital for promoting fiscal responsibility. And by applying these tools, legislators can ensure that public borrowing supports inclusive growth without endangering long-term stability.